Han and his class had been traveling for several weeks as they headed towards the dungeon. The location was towards where the Beast People's kingdom was located, between the Empire and Elven Kingdom. Due to traveling through a thick forest, they weren't able to move as fast as they normally would. Their destination was in the middle of this forest. As they got closer, there were large mountains that rose out of the ground. These mountains cut visibility in addition to the thick forest. There was a lot of fog, making the area look creepy and haunted. Often, Han would enjoy walking alongside his classmates. These were the same people he started hanging out more after class was finished, and he began enjoying hanging out with them. As the mist seemed to cover them, making them only see a short distance ahead of them, Han remarked to Celine, "If I were a dungeon, this would be the perfect location for one." "This place is definitely creepy," Celine agreed. "Do you think we'll be okay?" Lily asked the group. "Our teacher wouldn't allow us to go into something dangerous again," Chris, a commoner that was usually hanging out with them, mentioned. "We even have adventurers that are with us, so there shouldn't be any issues." He attempted to reassure Lily, though his mannerism suggested that he was just as apprehensive about this trip. Celine backhanded Chris's arm after seeing how much he failed at trying to comfort Lily. She moved closer to her and placed an arm over Lily's shoulder, trying to cheer her up. Lily and Celine had started becoming close to one another, so they were often seen together. Celine's tomboyish nature was complementary towards Lily's shy nature. Chris rubbed his arm and glared at Celine. Han enjoyed how this group of kids reminded him of when he was going through elementary school, hanging out with his friends and joking around. Celine was the lead of the group and would figure out where they would hang out. Though Han didn't hang out with them as much as he would like, they were always open in letting him join them. As they were walking, Han noticed a figure that was walking towards them. Ha-Yun was making her way through the convoy, stopping now and then to say something. When she approached his group of friends, Ha-Yun said, "We should be nearing the dungeon. I do not think we will be encountering any monsters, but you should keep an eye out now." Looking at Han, she said, "How is everything on your end?" Remembering how Ha-Yun had asked for his help in keeping everyone safe, he answered, "My servants are keeping an eye out." Being reassured with his answer, Ha-Yun continued towards another clumping of students. "What was all that about?" Celine asked Han. He shrugged his shoulder and said, "The teacher just wanted help from my servants in making sure that any monster sightings were reported." Everyone in the group nodded their heads after hearing his answer. Many of them heard how Brittany had killed hundreds of monsters during their first school trip, so they understood how powerful his servants were. "There is no need for concern. I, along with Master's other servants, will make sure that this trip goes smoothly," Brittany reassured them. "I have seen them fight, and they're very strong," Celestra chimed in. As they continued walking through the forest, they finally saw a giant structure, which seemed to appear out of nowhere. It looked like one of those ancient temples on Earth built by an ancient civilization that no longer existed. "Whoa!" Celine spoke in amazement. "I read that these dungeons were created by a civilization that disappeared thousands of years ago," Cynthia, a girl that practically lived inside of the library, mentioned. "Was it due to the overflow?" Lydia asked, sounding concerned. It seemed like nothing good came from going into a place that was destroyed by the overflow. "Surprisingly, no," Cynthia said. Seeing everyone look at her, she commented, "There were barely any records of what this civilization looked like, how many there were, what they did, and where they went and when. It's written that these sites are created all over the world, and seem to share a commonality. Some theories suggest that they were created from a civilization that spanned the entire world, though nobody knows why these sites were so important." They all looked back at the structure that seemed to be carved out of the mountain. Though the mist wasn't thick enough to hide the mountains from their view, this particular mountain seemed to have been hidden by the mist. Okay everyone, we will be heading into the structure. There is a large area at the entrance, where we will be able to set our gears and create a base camp. The structure is strong enough to keep any monsters out, so we will be safer than staying in the forest inside the mist. Ha-Yun yelled out at the class, making sure that everyone could hear her. The entrance of the temple looked like the mouth of a giant dragon, making them look as if they were being swallowed up by the mountain. Just the craftsmanship was impressive, considering how detailed it still looked after how many thousands of years passed by. Master, there does not appear to be anything inside the immediate interior. Anaklis and Rasia have scouted the surrounding area, so the area appears safe. Queen appeared next to him. Good, good. You have done well, Han complimented her. With 4 of his creations, Han was unconcerned about anything popping up. Inside the structure, the adventurers that were hired by the academy began setting up mana stones to light up the area. Ha-Yun began directing the students to start grabbing supplies and setting up various stations. Since they were inside the structure, there was no need to set up tents, but they still needed to create a cooking and eating station. There was also a bathing area that was cordoned off so both the guys and girls could shower. Don't even think about peeping on us, Chris and Jim, Celine warned the two. Why are you telling us that? Jim asked, sounding offended. How about E? Why aren't you saying anything to him? Celine just looked over at Chris and Jim and pointed at where Brittany and Han's creation were congregating. Do you really think he needs to peep? The two guys looked sheepish after realizing the reality. I guess with servants like those, E doesn't need to look at babies like you, he joked, pounding his fist on Chris's. What did you say? Celine said in a menacing tone as she walked over to where the two guys were laughing. Seeing how angry she was, the two of them ran away. I think you look pretty, Lily said to Celine in a shy tone. Thanks, Lily, Celine said, giving her a big hug. Han woke up from his nap, looking up as he saw the stone ceiling and remembered where he was. After everything was set up and they ate dinner, everyone found a spot and went to sleep. Han and his group went to the corner of the structure and pulled out blankets and pillows. This allowed all of them to sleep in one giant cuddle pile. On either side of him were Queen and Anaklis, while Brittany and Celestra were resting their heads on his legs. Eurasia was spooning her sister, looking blissfully happy. The two sisters tend to enjoy sleeping next to the other. If Eurasia was sleeping next to him, then his sister would be on the other side. When he turned his head, Han noticed that Anaklis was awake and was staring at him. Did you have a good night's sleep? He asked, smiling. I slept for a little bit, and then spent the rest of the time gazing at Master's sleeping face, she shyly said, looking a little embarrassed. As long as you get enough rest, that is all I care about, Han said to her. Han knew that there was no point in trying to tell the girls what to do, so he just enjoyed the emotions they showered him with. Being next to Master is all the rest I need, she replied quietly. Han placed his hand behind her head and pulled her closer to him. Giving her a tender and loving kiss, they just enjoyed the special moment that morning was made from. It wasn't the usual passionate kiss that would leave them wanting more, but instead the kind that could convey the stable feeling one felt for another. When he pulled away from her, Han smiled at how red Anaklis' face was. Even though she acted like an older sister, there were still moments where she acted like an innocent girl who was experiencing love for the first time. Brushing back her hair, Han said, "Always know that you carry my love." Nodding her head, she just gazed into his eyes. Sounds of voices let him know that people were beginning to wake up, so with a sigh, he began to get up. Him moving caused everyone to wake up. "Good morning, Master," all of them said, sounding refreshed and happy. "Good morning, my hearts," he said cheerfully. As everyone finally woke up and prepared for the day, they enjoyed eating breakfast and chatted about how the day was going to proceed. Considering this was the first time that anyone had visited a dungeon, aside from Ha-Yun and the adventurers, everyone was feeling excited. Ha-Yun stood close to the front of the room so that she could address everyone. "Now that everyone is finished eating, we will begin to proceed into the dungeon. From what we know, the entire place is built into and under the mountain, making it one of the biggest structures on this continent. Unlike during our first class trip, there will be no need for us to divide ourselves into groups. The path that runs throughout this place is massive, allowing everyone to venture into this place comfortably." Allowing the students to talk amongst themselves about this news, Ha-Yun raised her hand to signal everyone to quiet down. "Just because we will be traveling together, I want everyone to know that there are plenty of ways monsters can still sneak up on us. Everyone needs to be vigilant when going through this place. With the help of the adventurers, we are confident that you will be able to train in a semi-controlled environment." Though the students weren't grouped up, there was plenty of space between students so that everyone was a group. There was some clumping of students who stuck close to friends and people they felt safe next to. Han looked up and saw Eurasia on the ceiling, utilizing her skills to check all angles. Next to him, Brittany was in her full armor, ready for anything. Celestia was chatting with classmates, but made sure to keep an eye out for anything suspicious. Queen and Anaclus were walking several feet away from him on either side. This place reminded him of an RPG about killing an evil demon at the bottom of a tower. A part of him expected a group of skeletons to rush towards them, along with other hellish creatures. In this world, you didn't receive gold and items when you killed monsters, which was a bummer. "On your left," a voice up front yelled out. There were several flashes of lights as mages fired magic at a monster. Considering how everyone's acting, it was probably a small group of monsters. "At least this time we're seeing monsters, instead of having a flood of them appear like last time," Celine muttered. "Yeah, I'm guessing our teacher's likely happy about it too," Han laughed. "You'd be able to handle such a situation, right?" Celine asked, with a slight worry in her voice. "Who knows?" Han shrugged his shoulders.